Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is episode 2 of Standing Out. Standing Out is a remarkable interview-style podcast with the intention to highlight women and men making outstanding contributions in their field. Today, we have Lizelle van Vuuren. She's South African-born and a Colorado semi-native since 1997. Lizelle is a 10-year veteran of design thinking, startups, entrepreneurship, strategy, marketing, business growth, and innovation. She's a startup entrepreneur, innovator, full-stack marketer who loves to launch ideas and grow companies and frequently organizes events to empower other entrepreneurs. Lizelle is a true leader in the Denver startup community and devotes her spare time to empower women entrepreneurs as well as startups and new tech founders on how to best launch, gain traction, and grow. She's also the founder and CEO of Women Who Start Up, who is working hard on building a platform for female entrepreneurs to connect, collaborate, and find resources they need to launch companies. Lizelle is the founder and CEO of Effectively, a marketplace for startups seeking growth powered by a community of founders and marketers. Lizelle, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Katrina. Happy to be here.
Thanks. I love hearing about your background because I know in the Denver community you are involved in so much. I would love to hear like how you got your start in technology, like where you began. Was it here in Denver or was it back in South Africa?
Yeah, I'm happy to give you the short version of the long story. So I started working in technology at the age of 19. It was here in Colorado. I moved to Colorado at the age of 15, actually. Finished high school, started college at 18. I finished all my degrees here in Colorado. And but yeah, so started working in technology at the age of 19. I got an internship at a technology company in the Denver Tech Center. And 9 years later, I became the director of marketing and really focused on product development and exciting stuff. And that was my on-ramp for taking technology, SaaS, particular enterprise level products to market. I worked with engineers constantly, formulated cool ideas of how to take these products to either the business or we started to get into the consumer. And throughout the course of this 9-year, initial career foundation, I would say, I finished several degrees at CU Boulder. I worked on performance arts and psychology, which not a lot of people know.
Interesting.
I was born on the stage. So at the early age of 4 years old, I began acting and performance arts, and I had a real passion for the arts. And I think that really got me through my last couple of years of high school, moving to a new country, learning in a new language, struggling with all sorts of weird things in a new environment. And but yeah, so that didn't really attract me as much as I thought it would. And after a year at CU Boulder at the age of 18, I said, I'm not really finding my folly here. So I took a year off and I traveled and I worked odd jobs, retail, God knows.
Yeah,
why,
right.
But you do what you have to do to make a living. And I did. And it was an extremely cool year. And that was and transformational year. I was living in Boulder, Colorado, and I hadn't really spent much time in Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado was really different 12, 13 years ago. And I came down to Denver, Colorado for one day, walked around, visited some art galleries, and I stumbled into the Art Institute of Colorado. And long story short, 2 weeks later, I was enrolled into the Art Institute of Colorado, and 3 years later, I graduated there with my Bachelor's of Arts, and I focused, I did a 4-year program in 3 years because I felt like I had to make up for a year. So I worked through the summers and stuff. It was fun, but I worked on web design, web development, interactive media, multimedia, video production, all sorts of really creative digital arts.
That day that you stumbled in, what was it? Like, what was the magic of it where you stumbled in and then you enrolled? Like,
I walked in thinking that, so the Art Institute of Colorado here in Denver, Colorado, it has a small art gallery in their lobby. And like I mentioned, I was gallery hopping, just having a fun day by myself, getting to know the city a little bit. And I did stumble into that lobby, and I did ask, like, is this an art gallery? And then they explained to me where I actually had stumbled in, and it was a school. And I requested a business card of one of the admissions people. I met with someone actually that very day. And so I remember leaving there, calling my mom and saying, I think I found the school I want to go and throw myself into. And so my mom went with me, and we checked out the school and stuff. And at 19, I enrolled there. And like I said, 3 years later, finished that. And that was tough. I worked like 3 jobs while I worked on my full-time degree there. I wouldn't change it, but that was a lot.
Do you think that serves you as an entrepreneur? Because I know many of us entrepreneurs work exceptionally long days, and it's not all the glamour that sometimes it appears to be. And I'm wondering if, like, starting out early, having to work 3 jobs and support yourself and get through school, like, if that is just a foundational piece for you and you kind of carry that with you.
Yeah, I think for one, it's simply ingrained. I think a lot of us don't know just how entrepreneurial we are until we have these types of experiences that gives us literally the journey of, like, oh, when I look back now at those early days going to college, I was like already in that crazy entrepreneurial mode of the hustle is real, anything is possible, long hours, don't care, bring it on. And it was like this focus and dedication to accomplish a particular set goal. And I do think that for some people is just innate. I think it's just your nature. It definitely is for me. Halfway through a year into my Art Institute of Colorado degree is when I stumbled into the cafeteria where there happened to be an internship fair. And there was only one paying job at that internship fair. And I got that job. And that job was that beginning of my 9-year career. So I finished my degree while beginning to work as an intern. And they only wanted me for 3 months. And 9 years later, they finally got rid of me.
Wow, that's incredible. What a success story. You should write to that.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's my story anyway, right? It's a wild one. And I worked on my MBA the minute I graduated from my Bachelor's of Arts. So, I was part-time while I finished my Art Institute degree. And then when I completed that, I became full-time in my job. And the minute I graduated, went into this full-time position of, at the time, a marketing manager that transitioned to marketing director, that transitioned to director of marketing, blah, blah, blah. Right. And the moment I got done with the bachelor's, I was enrolled to my MBA, and I worked on my MBA at night and on the weekends online, so that I didn't have to lose the full-time kind of income. And so, my entire 9 years of working in my foundation of my career, I was full-time a student at the same time. I don't recommend that to anybody. But I would say, based on your previous question, there was definitely an ingrained hustler at work.
You can tell.
And it's why today, I can manage to launch products simultaneously or work on a lot of things. I still don't recommend it. I still recommend some focus, but it's not for everyone, and you have to maintain your energy levels because it will fry you. And I was fried after 9 years and 2 degrees.
Right.
End of 2011. I was fried. Yeah.
So what is it like when you're launching multiple projects simultaneously? What is it that fuels you, and what is it that you love about being an entrepreneur that makes you think, I should launch several products simultaneously?
Yeah, for me, it may sound cliche, but money is never really a motivator, even though it's a direct reality of being an entrepreneur. So for me, entrepreneurship means creating something beyond myself. And what I believe is ingrained in me and what I'm learning as I'm learning and growing and figuring out who I am and what I want to be when I grow up, because that never goes away, is my nature as an impact founder. So anything and everything I work on, I truly give everything I got. So passion is a very high requirement. And that usually means that I fall in love with a project or a product or with a group of people or with a problem that I cannot imagine not helping to solve, however big or small. So, for effectively, which is very early phased, a marketplace for companies and growing startups, for companies and growth marketers, is a innate passion to the concept of great companies are made because of great people. And so, building a marketplace that connects companies who want to hire great people. Again, it's very passion driven. There's a technology platform there, but there's a mission at hand. For women who start up, as a woman, as an entrepreneur, when I finally, left the corporate world at the end of 2011, there I was. I wasn't as familiar as I would have liked to be with this Colorado startup ecosystem. It was much younger, just a mere 3-4 years ago. And so when I entered it, I started to go to a lot of events and there were no women. And I was like, I want to learn from other women. Where are my role models? Where are women who are building successful companies? Again, a real problem that I saw. And so I became very passionate about finding other women who happen to be entrepreneurial minded, who are running companies, who are working for great companies, who are in startup mode, and bring them together. Because selfishly, I wanted to learn from them. But unselfishly, I knew that we all could learn from each other. So again, the driver for me is usually getting really attached to a problem big enough that is way beyond me, just me. Solving a problem for just me doesn't really excite me at all. In fact, and a lot of entrepreneurs can relate, it's like, please don't ask me to solve my own problems. Please don't solve 1,000 other people's problems.
You want to solve the bigger problem rather. Yeah,
exactly.
And women who start up is really interesting to me, because if it started with you connecting with other women and finding support, seeing what other people were doing, just in the few years that it has been around, you have grown that group incredibly, like over 1,000 members, right?
Yeah, we're nearly, last time I checked, which I believe was yesterday, I think we're over 1,300 members just in Denver.
And that speaks, when you talk about, you don't want to solve a problem for you, you want to solve a greater problem, to me, that just says, look at how big that problem is. There's that many other women that are feeling just like you were, and it needs to be addressed and talked about, and communities created around it.
Yeah, I mean, this is funny and timely. I ran into a woman I know yesterday, and she mentions to me, hey, I watched that documentary that you mentioned I really should watch, and it's called Happy, and it's on Netflix, and I highly recommend it. And I said, yeah, why was it significant? She was like, well, the significance that I learned out of the documentary is, there's like 3 components to being truly happy. 10% is financial means, it's the smallest percentage. About 50% is genetics, kind of what you get from your parents. But the remaining 40% is community.
Wow.
And when she said that to me just yesterday, I thought to myself, community truly creates a happier and more well-being. And so I don't think it's human nature to live and thrive in isolation. I, in fact, don't think it's quite possible. I think you can be happy by yourself. I think a lot of people enjoy their own company, and some people are more introverted and they get too drained from blah blah blah. But I truly think it's a very interesting notion to understand that community is critical to well-being and a decent human experience, and the entrepreneurial journey is already so difficult, let alone just walking through life.
Right.
So I believe community is critical to all sorts of things.
That's so interesting, because when you think of yourself going to groups and they're energetic and happy and upbeat, like that definitely rubs off on you and it just kind of changes your attitude and perspective, even if for only that short time while you're there. But then also on the flip side, when you're going through something hard and you feel like it's only you and there's no one else to talk about this with, you do feel really isolated and can really get down on yourself and, you know, have more of a critical view. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think entrepreneurs are pretty heads down when they're working on their companies, and that type of isolation is what is it now? 30 to 40% of entrepreneurs suffer from depression and anxiety, and it's a real reality. I have my own struggles of, keeping focus, right, working hard, but sustaining energy, refueling, re-energizing. And so for me, when I set out every single month to go and host what I call the monthly base camps, because Women Who Start Up has this really incredible thematic and overarching theme, which is the entrepreneurial journey is very much like a climber's journey. And climbing a mountain is really hard, depending on the size of it, of course.
Regardless, still a mountain. It's hard.
Yeah, and so I like to bring people together at these base camps on a monthly basis, which are just monthly events where we all get together, and it's grown, and now we're averaging like at least 100 people getting together any given month, and that's exciting. But the point there is it's that, to your point, I'm struggling. I feel like I'm struggling alone. And the moment you get yourself out of that building, the moment you get yourself within a community and they can relate, they're asking the same questions. Maybe they're struggling with some of the same problems. But the cool thing is there's going to be other people who have, persevered through some of the challenges that you're going through. And now you have an opportunity for mentorship, for advice, for people to drag your ass through those challenging times, and you can learn from them. So knowledge sharing to me is huge, and a face-to-face opportunity for knowledge sharing is, to me, very powerful.
And I love that because, what is that saying about fail fast, fail often, that sort of thing. And I feel like having those mentors in the community just helps propel everyone, because just what you said, they've been through the same sort of mistakes. They've been through the same sort of ups and downs. And a lot of times what I find is those mentors also know of blind spots that are likely to be coming up that you haven't even thought of because your head's down in your current problem.
Exactly.
So I love that. One of the things, one of the hardest things for newbie entrepreneurs is usually not on the technical skills side of things. It's usually more on the personal side of things, the ego side, the part of us that says, am I good enough for this? Do I know how to do this? And I'm wondering, like on that ego side, whether it was when you were first starting your career or even now, do you feel the same? Like when you're starting new projects, do you feel that piece of, can I do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a powerful question. It's something I probably deal with on a daily basis, and I guarantee it's a problem, or not a problem. It's something that I believe most people deal with. I believe entrepreneurs deal with it intrinsically. So, for me, any given day, there are truly moments. And this is the typical scenario of entrepreneurship is not a straight line. It's a squiggly line with a lot of curves and a lot of zigzags and a lot of squirrelies and a whole lot of not straight line.
I know that graph you're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. We've all seen it. It's like, it's not a straight line. And what that really signifies is on any given day, an entrepreneur, especially in startup mode, meaning starting something from scratch to put it out there in the world, to create revenue, a sustaining business model, to build a team, to find funding, to bootstrap, however you are building that business out there in the world. Any given day has its moments of sheer high. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, things are going really well. Things are succeeding. We got a new client. We got an investor. We've got great feedback. Customer support, customer feedback is very positive. Whatever the highs are, they're super high. They're super validating. They're super rewarding. In the same day, there are there are lows. And that's the up and the down that requires a ton of resilience.
Yeah.
And it is learned over time. You either become stronger or it breaks you. And I truly believe that regardless, either way, you're going to need some support. If you don't have a supportive family or personal life, it's going to be really, really challenging. If you don't have a supportive community and business network, it's going to be really, really, really tough. So the high highs and the low lows is any given day. Any given day, I have moments where I literally kind of question, what the hell am I doing? Why the hell am I doing it again? Am I doing it the best way? Mm-hmm. You know, as an entrepreneur and someone that's also pretty type A and extremely hard on myself and have extremely high expectations of the results that I put out there, I am my worst enemy. I beat the shit out of myself on a daily basis. Is this good enough? Are you fast enough? Ship that shit. Don't delay. Get it out there. People are relying on you. It's an unbelievable personal responsibility that not all people put on themselves. Thank God. but
a lot of people listening can absolutely relate to how much they put on themselves in that.
Oh yeah. Oh God. If I just relied on what the world asked of me, I would like be sipping, juice in a hammock. It's my own personal pressure and the craving to make a difference, to generate not just revenue, but this may sound crazy, but legacy, truly changing something, truly helping someone or many someones. Mm-hmm. And so that's a real driver. And I can't, this is why I always tell entrepreneurs or tech founders that I help coach or mentor or whatever, if you're not wholehearted into your project, it will be twice as hard because you won't have that sustaining fuel of why I'm doing this. And women are very particular about the why. So, statistics say, whatever that means. It does say that, women generally do things when they're 80% convinced of why they should do it. And that is a very interesting thing. So women are motivated by different, psychological equations. Like, why should I do this? I feel 80% confident. And it hurts them too, which is to say, if I don't feel 80+% confident, I'm not going to apply for this job or pitch this competition or blah, blah, blah. And so it's an interesting dynamic that I haven't done a ton of research on, but know a little bit about. And, we are all learning more about that, how confident and comfortable women need to feel in order to say yes or go do or just get out of the building or show up. And but there's a lot of dynamics to that. So let's not take that out of context, people.
Right. But it's still, it's still a stat out there. And what it says to me is we may be limiting our own opportunity if we're not 80% confident on it. If we're 75 and we close that door for ourselves, what is that saying? So I think it's something to know and talk about for sure.
Yeah. A final point on that is think about that. Think about being an entrepreneur and being afraid. Entrepreneurship is fueled by fear. Any given day, you are literally fueled by a little bit of anxiousness, which is to say, especially in startup mode, that's what I mean. Not when you're sustaining and you've got your business model figured out and you have your clients and referrals are coming in. And it's a completely different story when you're in the early phases of just not knowing. There's so many unknowns. There's so many unchecked boxes. There's so much you have no idea how it's going to play out. The biggest thing I can say about that is you cannot dwell on trying to calculate and make the assumptions of how this is going to turn out until you just do the work. You go to the pitch competition, you show up, you ask for help, you ship that, MVP, whatever. I have a great friend, Talanya Geary, who I talk about in our podcast, Women Who Startup Radio, themed Women Disrupt. And I talk about this all the time. Her theme and philosophy in life is go do. It's very powerful. I know a lot of other people that they have the philosophy of the power of yes. And all of those things is how I put it. And I say this mantra to myself every New Year's Day. Less thinking, more doing. And I get a lot of shit for that. Yeah, I get a lot of interesting feedback because people are like, no, it's more calculated thinking, more calculated doing. And I said, bullshit. There is no time to think because I learn by trying things, experimenting, shipping things, building a new website, watching it fall apart, whatever. It doesn't matter. If I thought about everything, I would still be by myself, sitting in my home office, not having a community of 1,300 entrepreneurs that I can learn from.
And I think that's huge advice for entrepreneurs because so many of us, especially the type A ones out there, we get stuck in that perfection piece of where we want to think about it, perfect it, over perfect it. And I think it's holding a lot of us back. I think it would be better just get it out there. You can perfect as you go. If it crashes, fine. You'll know what to do different. And, Yeah,
I mean, when you're a well-oiled machine, meaning a sustaining company, and you're about to bring a new product to market, do it right. Do it well.
Yeah.
You gave yourself a time frame. You gave yourself a budget. If you're about to bring a new service into the marketplace, do it well. Do it properly. Do it right. But, and I can relate. Oh, perfectionism? Oh, my God. Of course. When I was 20 years old, oh my God, I was 100 times worse than I am today because that level of requirement for perfectionism was unbelievable. It made me struggle in school. It made me frustrated with the project that I had to deliver that I didn't feel really great about yet, which is crazy because I was just learning, right?
Right.
You learn and you mature. And I couldn't have learned this. I couldn't continue to mature if I wasn't trying all these other things, if I wasn't willing to show up and willing to ship things and willing to break stuff and willing to experiment and, curiosity, like if I do this, what will happen? Let's try it.
Yeah.
A lot of people have that and a lot of people don't. And I don't know if curiosity can be taught, to be very honest. I think it's good to be reminded of it. I think you can rub off on people who aren't as curious. But, entrepreneurship, I think one of the great things, I mentioned two things already, right? So resilience and curiosity is critical. And then I would say thirdly is just do. There are times when you are sitting on your hands and just analysis paralysis, and it hurts. It hurts the outcome. It hurts you. It's just at the minimum, get out of the building.
So speaking of just do, so you have this community in Denver, Women Who Start Up, and you're expanding to South Africa and India. So tell us about what you're just doing. Like I know you're like it's happening. Tell us.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy, and this is very typical of what exactly we just talked about. To say that, here on September 29th, we had our third annual Women Who Startup event, which I called Women Who Startup Summit this year during Denver Startup Week. And my mom called me literally 2 or 3 days before I had the summit. And she said, what would be really powerful is if everyone in your community sported your t-shirt. And I said, yeah, no, I know. I want everyone to really sport the t-shirt. And she said, well, I just thought I'd plant that seed with you. And my mom's an incredible entrepreneur herself. She started great companies. So a lot of that has rubbed off. And I heard her and we hung up and I continued to prepare for the summit. And I'll get to your question.
Yeah.
But basically, I thought to myself like, oh shit, I am I'm missing out on an opportunity to put something very tangible into the hands of my members who love this community. And I said, but what is more powerful than that? And then boom, it hit me. I said, okay, after the summit is complete, I'm going to launch a campaign, and I'm going to call it Women Who Startup Unite, or 1,000 Teas for 10,000 Entrepreneurs. Basically, literally, I dropped the mic on summit night. I got through the rest of that Denver Startup Week, and that weekend, I built an entire e-commerce infrastructure for our website. I launched a new campaign that next Monday called 1,000 Teas for 10,000 new entrepreneurs. And basically the notion is we're trying to get 1,000 people to buy one t-shirt for $20 so that we can raise $20,000 to build an entire new program to reach and launch in 10 new cities. So we want to launch across the United States, but because I'm born and raised in South Africa, I've been communicating and connecting with incredible entrepreneurs and women who happen to be in Cape Town, South Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa, and a couple other places. And one of our members that comes once a quarter to Denver, Colorado, is based in India. She lives there. And so I have this unique opportunity to also start basically scratch that surface of going globally, which is to start a couple of local India-based, New Delhi and maybe a couple other places. And then, like I said, in South Africa. So it's a huge, crazy notion, and nobody made me. Things, and this is the growth marketer in me. This is the entrepreneur in me, and this is the community builder in me. And so I thought, the momentum coming out of the summit and an incredible Denver Startup Week, event, it would be a real failure if I did not, one, continue to build on the succession of the summit. And so that's what we're up to. So we launched the 1,000 Teas campaign. The motto and the tag is buy a tea, support the brand, be the change. And anyone, anywhere can go to womenwhostartup.co, go to our shop and buy a t-shirt, whether it's men or women, and invest that $20. I think we're at about, and I just launched it a few days ago, and I think we're just shy of like our 100 t-shirts sold.
Wow, that's great.
We're running it, for the fourth quarter, or as long as it takes. But I would like to wrap it at the end of November, but I'm running it for the remainder of 2015. Yeah. And so it's just a fun thing. It's like, listen, especially our members, if you've ever found profound value out of this community, and it's always been free, and I've given a lot, and they learn a great deal. So we're asking hopefully for very little, which is to say, buy your own t-shirts, support the brand, and help us launch in 10 new cities by the summer of 2016.
And I think for especially the people listening who feel the way you feel about, I don't want to just solve my own problem. I want to solve this greater problem. It's an amazingly low cost opportunity to help get this message out in multiple cities across the nation and globally. And plus you get a t-shirt, and who doesn't need another t-shirt, And
it's a badass t-shirt because their branding is really cool. Yeah.
Isn't that the fun part of entrepreneurship though? After the summit, you started this new thing, like within 3 days, and here it is, and here's a few $1,000s raised already, and you'll most definitely get to your goal within the next few weeks, I'm sure. So it's
powerful. It's powerful. Here's the thing. I didn't have to seek for permission to kick this off. But I had to give myself confidence and encouragement to say, hell yes, do this. And I consulted with a few people, some partners, some family, or whatever. And it's just intrinsic. It's like, we have to do this. We've got to give it a shot. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a success, but we have 100 t-shirts sold. And that means I can find 900 more people to say, so we haven't even gotten 10% of our own community to have the time and opportunity to do this. We have an upcoming event in October on the 20th, and in November and in December. So hopefully those 3 touch points too, being facing with our community, will get their asses in gear and put up and put their money where their mouth is and say, I do value this. I do want to encourage other women in other cities to have the opportunity to have a Women Who Start Up base camp in their own respective cities. And that's encouraging. You know, so if anyone's listening and they're not in Denver and they're not in Colorado, I want them to feel invigorated to say, you know what, I could start a Women Who Start Up base camp.
Yeah.
And maybe you're a guy, maybe you're a gal, and you can find great women in your community who are entrepreneurial, who are community builders, and who are leaders. Because those are 3 requirements to start a new chapter. Because you have to have a certain DNA to be a successful community builder and to do this. And you just have to have a lot of passion beyond just, you know, one, yourself, and one, just a paycheck. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up here, I would love to know what you think the biggest trend that we would be talking about next year would be. Like what's on your radar?
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. So as a technology entrepreneur, I know the world of tech startups and investment capital and finding angel investors. The interesting thing is working on Women Who Start Up is a completely different notion. It's not some product that we're building that we're putting out there in the marketplace and trying to get users to adopt, even though there's many similarities, right? It's an offering and people have to show up to make it successful. Point I'm making here is I'm learning a lot about impact entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, impact founders, all that kind of new, interesting. It's not new, of course, because nonprofits have existed for a very long time. What I'm talking about is there is a new movement happening. Venture capitalists, angel investors are all basically barely at a minimum starting to pay attention to, why am I not contributing some of my investment capital to profoundly impact-driven missions? So one thing that I believe that we're going to see in the next year is entrepreneurship flourishing by entrepreneurs trying to bring new technology to market that has also an impact, a mission-driven company. And I don't mean just Tom's, right? I don't mean just a business that is a one-for-one model or whatever. I mean technology entrepreneurs, and I am putting my money on the fact that we're going to see more female entrepreneurs playing in this interesting space. And I am starting to see some combination of exciting dots that are starting to connect, which is starting to utilize technology, not just as a notion to create another stupid app.
Right.
Not that any app is stupid, because there's intelligence to it. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, how are we as entrepreneurs continuously asking ourselves, how is what I'm building and putting out in the world also affecting the world? Mm-hmm. And when more women come into entrepreneurship, launch their own businesses, I believe that more of that is going to really highlight and spotlight impact entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, mission-driven technology, impact-driven technology, and we're going to start seeing more of the investment community take and pay attention to this interesting notion. I don't know what it all means. Maybe I didn't even just word that properly, but I hope it made sense. I truly believe there's something very interesting and vibrant here.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think we are starting to see some of these little dots pop up, and how they get connected in the next year will be interesting. And yeah, I'm sure investors will be paying attention to that. Lizelle, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your experience and insight. Love it. It was fun. So thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.